Today is a righteously good new gear day because we get to check out one of the best high gain preamp pedals I have ever had the pleasure of trying, the Driftwood Purple Nightmare Tube Preamp. So not too long ago, I got to check out the Heavy Hatchet from Driftwood, and I guess they dug that because they sent this super killer Purple Flake Purple Nightmare Tube Preamp over for me to check out. I have been really wanting to try one of these out for a while. I did get to try it at NAMM with some of their other stuff, and I was blown away by how good it was there, but it's always hard to tell how good something is at NAMM or how it's going to sound with your gear. And when I got to try this thing, I was floored by how good this is. This sounds better than most amps that I've gotten to try, play, and own over the years. This thing sounds so stupid good. Like, I could absolutely, if I was playing live, have this be the center of my entire rig. It sounds so lush and saturated and huge and aggressive, and just in every way I remember the Purple Nightmare that I got to try at NAMM a couple of times, or the Purple Nightmares, because it definitely wasn't the same one, sounding, and just, it does everything I like in a high gain metal tone. So there are a lot of features. I'm going to try and be as succinct as possible so we can get to some more tones. So this is tube powered. There are two 12AX7s here behind this little screen. And you see that light up purple when it's on. And these are actually getting correct voltage. They're getting 250 volts. There is an internal charge pump to make sure that these are actually, doing something and aren't just there for show like plenty of other pedals that are running these at like 9 volts or 18 volts or whatever. No, this is running at proper voltage for these tubes, and it just feels and sounds so good. Like, this definitely feels like you're plugging into a tube amp and not something that's solid state. So this is based on the burn channel from the Purple Nightmare, their flagship amplifier. And just like with that, you're going to see a lot of similar controls. So you're going to have your gain, bass, middle, treble, master volume, so all pretty normal. You're also going to have some power amp controls here, so a rumble and sharp, so you can really dial this thing in. You can think of rumble as the resonance and the sharp as the presence. So you can dial it into different amps, cabinets, whatever power section you're going into, or IR. And then it also has a sizzle control here. I really like that because it just adds more top-end saturation. So I like in the bottom position, that adds a bit of top end saturation, aggression. Overall, just felt really nice and sounded really good in a mix. The center is kind of more neutral and dark, and then the top adds a lot of sizzle. A little bit more than I would probably go for and need, but if you're going with something really low tune, that's probably going to be the one that you want to use. This also has a high and low gain, so you can go to more over the top saturated, and then you can go to a lower gain. And then you also do have a tube screamer built into this, their TS circuit. The TS is the same thing you'd find on the amp. It's their version of a tube screamer, but it is super good, especially in something like this, because most of us metal guys are hitting our amps to some sort of boost or overdrive. And this, of course, tightens things up, but it also adds that more like upper mid kind of pick attack clarity and aggression. And so to have that built in's fantastic. And there also is a little switch here where you can have this be just a separate thing to go into your amplifier. And the way that that works is there are a bunch of different inputs and outputs on the back of this thing. And what they've cleverly done is if you have an amp with an effects loop, you can actually set this up in a 4-cable method, essentially turning this into a new channel for your amplifier. And then when you turn it off, it's just your normal amplifier. But when you turn it on, it bypasses the preamp of your amp, and this becomes the new preamp, and then it sends everything into the power amp of that amplifier. Super good idea. Allows this thing to be even more versatile and allows your amps to be more versatile because now you have a new channel. And when you have it set up with this switch for the tube screamer, that allows you to use that same tube screamer circuit, but also on the channels of your amplifier when this is off and bypassed. So super good idea. There's also an extra little output here that does have a 2-watt out. So you can actually power a little cab, so you can, practice with this nice and quiet, using this as your practice rig and your full live rig. So this thing you could do a bunch of different stuff with. Like say live, you want to go into just a good power amplifier, into a cabinet, like you wanted bare bones, which is what I would want. Maybe a delay pedal and like a noise gate, a tuner, you're all set. Base everything around this. Or you want to also have some clean stuff, some other options, so you bring your amplifier head, but then you use this for your gain tones, and you can do the 4-cable method and turn this on and off as an extra channel, or you just want an extra cool channel for one of your amps at home. You can do that here with all of these different settings. I'm in love with it. It's just so good. So many good ideas into this thing. It's so well made, and it sounds absolutely gloriously good. So that's enough gushing about it and going over all the features and probably not having this thing in frame enough on camera. God, that thing looks good. Look at it. Look at how good that thing looks and just sparkle. Look at it shine. It's so good. So how was I using this? Well, I was plugging directly into this with my LTD MT1, which does have the McThompson Fishman Fluence in the bridge for that. And then this was going into, I figured I'd keep German with German here. So this was going into the power amp section of my Lischler Prometheus. And that does have KT88 and EL34 power tubes. And then all of that was going into my Red 7 Evo Amp Central. And I'm running, of course, the same IR I pretty much always run on this channel, which is my own personal DV77 VM1265 IR blend. It's mostly the DV77, just a hair of the VM1265. And if you do like that, I have a link down below. It's a Dropbox link, and you can pick that up for yourself. But let's actually twist some knobs, play around with this thing, hear how it sounds. I am absolutely in love with this thing. I was entirely floored with it once I started getting some tones. Something I talked about before when I was talking about the heavy hatchet is I really feel like they've like nailed that kind of 5150 thing, but modern, more refined, less compressed. A lot of people, when I actually mentioned that before in the heavy hatchet video, were like, oh, I always took them to be more of a dual rectifier thing. And I think they're more just generally kind of like American gain structure, but with some tweaks and good ideas. Like, I understand where people are getting the dual rec thing. This does have that really big, clean, punchy low end that you expect from a dual rectifier. But I feel like with how saturated it is, the gain structure has always felt more 5150 for the Purple Nightmare stuff for me, as well as I always end up setting it up the same exact way I like setting up a 5150. That's with all the knobs at 666. I always feel like the bass, middle, and treble just being at about 6 o'clock is the best way that these things sound. Then you hit it with a tube screamer, and it just absolutely screams. And so for my money, these feel like kind of the best of both worlds with a dual rectifier and a 5150, but also they fixed a lot of like the over compression issues with the 5150 or the horrible low end and like hard to dial in mid range of a dual rectifier and stuff. I feel like all of that has been amended in this, and of course, thus the flagship amplifier that it's based on, the actual Purple Nightmare. This thing just sounds incredible. It's I like I said, I am absolutely in love with it. It's so good, and it has given me so much gas for an actual Purple Nightmare. I absolutely need one on this channel. It's sealed the deal. I was already feeling that way with the hatchet, but this thing now has absolutely sealed it for me that I need the actual amplifier, a really awesome one with like a good purple wood face, because I have to have the dark purple with it. I mean, it's a Purple Nightmare. It's got match too, right? And in future, I would love to compare that to say like my Angle and my Lischlarim and do like a big German high gain modern metal shootout. But for now, I can't say enough good things about this. If you're looking for a good thing for in the studio, just to practice with, to record tones with, or to play live with, either to integrate with your actual amplifier or just to send into a power amp, this has you covered in spades. It is so good. I'm gonna have a link down below if you want to check this out. I highly recommend it, and I don't think enough people are talking about just how good this thing is. It like I said, it's so good. It feels good to play. It sounds good. It sounds good in the mix. It sounds good just playing it. It feels really like responsive, like an actual tube amplifier. It boosts just like a tube amplifier boosts. It's a joy to play. It's like easy to play. It gets out of your way. Another reason I feel like it's 5150-ish. It's just a joy to play, and you just want to chug open notes and be a caveman with it. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts if you've got to try this out or anything else from Driftwood. I think they're criminally underrated. Again, I'll have a link so you can check out anything they do here. But thanks for watching. Stay metal.